Welcome, Greek U Nation, to episode number 249 of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. I am your host, Mike Eilon, CEO of Greek University. I'm a speaker and a two-time author. Go and pick up our second book. It's called From Letters to Leaders, Redefining New Member Education and Leveraging Belonging to Eliminate Hazing. Fantastic book. You will not be sorry that you picked that up. Now, we call these episodes the Fraternity Foodie Podcast because there is nothing like great food to bring college students together. Fun fact, I was the shortest kid on my middle school basketball team. I was riding the bench most of the time and usually only played in garbage time when we were ahead by 30 points. The other kids on my team, they were fully developed. They had muscles, they had beards by the time they were in 7th and 8th grade. Let me just tell you, that was not me at all, okay? I do remember how much they cheered me on when I did score a basket every now and then. And I realized that everyone matures at their own speed. We each have certain God-given talents that we've got. And so our challenge is to figure out how we can best serve our communities, given the tools that we have, and then depend on the team around us to balance us out. Today we have with us Trevon Bryant. Trey had dreams of playing in the NFL when he suffered a traumatic knee injury. He tore his ACL, MCL, both medial and lateral meniscus and patellar tendons all in one snap. His life completely changed in an instant, and he had to find out how to reinvent himself. So Trey started a motivational speaking company. It's called Talking with Trey, and he's now sharing his message and uplifting people all over the world. Welcome to the show, Trey.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Man, I am pumped to have you on the show. I watched some of your videos, man, and you just kill it on stage. So I'm like, man, Trey needs to come on the show and tell us all about this because I got to learn more, you know? Now, you grew up in St. Augustine, Florida. You were in a single parent home. And listen, you have certain God-given athletic abilities that I will never have. But you didn't have the height that you wanted to be noticed by the big coaches in the country. So how did that start insecurities for you at an early age with all of these comparisons to all your friends?
So just like you said, right, I had God-given talent. You know, I was really great player, strong player. I was fast. I was powerful. You know, I had records that I set at the high school. And so everything was clicking except for that one thing. It was height, you know, and I had some great players who I also played with who also went along to play Division I football. And I have one who's currently playing for the Cleveland Browns. And so, you know, I had great competition around me, and to see their success, it just kind of, it threw me into a pit because a lot of the coaches that came to my high school to, you know, scout me and talk to me a little bit, they all kind of, when it came to the discussion about size, height, and weight, that was something that they kind of, you know, talked down to me on. And it was kind of tough because, you know, football was everything for me. And to me, it was my ticket out. I knew if I didn't do football, I wouldn't be able to go to college to pay for it. Or I had to take out so many loans. So this was my only way out, you know, and I wanted to make this happen because I told everyone, you know, I'm going to play Division I football. I'm going to be this person to come back and change the community. That was my dream. That was my goal. And so to get so close to it, but to get there and see that the only factor that played in it was the height, that was the thing that kind of tore me down the most because that was something that I couldn't control, right? I wasn't born to my both parents asking them, hey, can one of you just be 6'2" and both of you not be 5'7", you know? I didn't ask for that, right? So that's something that I couldn't control. So you can see where the mental battle came in and created a lot of insecurities because I felt that, you know, because I wasn't as tall as the other players or as tall or as big as the other running backs, that it wasn't made for me. But then I asked God, why give me this talent that I have in the game of football, but not give me the measurements that I need in order to, you know, continue my career to play Division I, to play college. And so it tore me down a lot. But it was something that for me, it just put a bigger chip on my shoulder, and it just made me play even harder, which led me to the success that I have today.
I wish I was a little bit taller. I wish I was a baller. That's the story of my life right there. I understand that that resonates with you too.
Yeah, totally.
So, I mean, but you eventually received 6 Division I football scholarships out of high school, and then you decided on the University of New Hampshire. So I'm wondering, why was it University of New Hampshire? Why not any of the other schools?
Yeah, so the University of New Hampshire was actually the first scholarship that I ended up getting towards the end of my high school career. And the reason why I chose UNH over the rest of the other universities was the fact that, they were actually really invested into the recruiting process of me. The coach, he did 2 home visits, called me, texted me every other day. He was really involved in my life and really trying to get to know me as a player. He really just established that foundation that just made me feel like UNH was the place before I even got there. Right. And so then when I took my official visit there, everything, and it was kind of crazy coming from Florida. I went there in the middle of July. It was in the middle of July and January, actually, not July, January, and snowstorm. It was cold. I didn't have a jacket. I was not prepared for this at all, right? I went up to the University of New Hampshire, didn't even know where it was located on the map. And here is this place that was so beautiful. I mean, fresh snow on the trees. I've never seen anything like it other than on TV. And here it is, this place, these guys, the teams, the coach, everything just felt like at home. It felt like I had been there before. It felt like an environment where I saw myself growing, where I saw myself doing something that people from where I come from, where I lived in St. Augustine, didn't have the opportunity and chance to do or see. And so once I got there, it was just, there was no doubt about it. And at that time, we were also the #1 team in the country at that time. We had, the year before, we had just, played North Dakota State in the semifinals for the national championship. So we were a really good team. We had a really good coach. So everything was just there, it was in place. And so I felt like that would be the place that would help me get to the pros and achieve my dreams and my goals.
Yeah, I love that. And you know what? There's a lot of crossover, I feel, to fraternity and sorority. You mentioned that the coach did 2 home visits from the University of New Hampshire. And I talk about that all the time within fraternity and sorority life. I mean, if there's somebody out there at the University of New Hampshire that we think could be the next chapter president, why aren't we getting into our car and going to the parents and making that case that your son belongs in our fraternity? And these are the reasons why. These are the skills that he's going to get out of this experience. And we think he can lead us forward. I mean, if
Exactly.
you make that case to the parents, they'll write a check for the dues on the spot and be like, here you go. Like, if you're going to get my son more job opportunities because of the network of 100,000 brothers, okay, where do I sign, right? I mean, at the end of the day, that's the goal at the University of New Hampshire. It's to get a higher paying job with that degree.
Right.
I mean, oh man. So anyway, well, I'm glad that you shared that story because I think that is just so important. And you had these dreams of playing in the NFL, and now you suffer this traumatic knee injury. You tear up your ACL, your MCL. I mean, what happened and what went through your mind when you had that injury?
Man, it was insane. So I got here to University of New Hampshire. I ended up playing as a freshman, got my red shirt burnt unexpectedly. So I only had 4 years to actually really play, right? And so my time was ticking. And after my red shirt got burnt, I made the decision that, I felt like a year had got wasted because I only played in a couple of games before the other guys came back who were injured.
Mhm.
And I felt like it was wasted. So I said, my time is ticking. I said, you know what? I have to take it for what it is. I have to work harder. Going into my senior year, I ended up gaining a lot of accolades at the University of New Hampshire, right? So still to this day, I'm considered the strongest athlete pound for pound. I still hold that record today, and I set that in 2016. And then I also became the first 2-time team captain in University of New Hampshire's history. And so, I did my job. I did my deed. I did a lot of things to set myself up for success here at the university. And so as I begin to go into my senior year, my true senior year, it was a spring practice. And I remember like it was yesterday. I remember the night before I was in the room, it was probably about 10 p.m. And I'm telling both of my roommates, I'm like, guys, we just have to stay healthy. All we have to do is stay healthy. We have 5 practice, right? 4 practice left, and the 5th one actually being the spring game. Guys, we have to stay healthy, continue to work hard through practice, and we're going to be out of here. We're going to go home for the summer. We'll be able to see our family, our friends, and then we'll come back for summer training. We'll work hard, and we'll transition right into having a great season. And one of my roommates was like, yeah, Trey, man, I can't wait to go back to Washington, see my little brother. He's getting so big. He's growing up so fast. My other roommate was like, man, my sister's coming out of town. I haven't seen her in a while. I just can't wait to be home with family. And we just kind of went down this memory lane as we talk. And so I remember getting in the bed. It was probably about 10:40 10:45 at this time, and I'm laying down and I'm staring at the roof, and something in my head just said, are you really ready to, go down this path, go down this journey? Are you really ready to become successful and do the things that you said that you wanted to do going into this last year? And in my head, I'm like, yeah, like it's a piece of cake. Like, I can't wait. Let's do this. I rolled over, go to sleep. I wake up at 5 a.m., get ready, get dressed. I make my way down to the training room, get into the training room. I get dressed. We get ready to go out on the field. We're out on the field and we're in the middle of a scrimmage. And as a running back on offense, as a team captain, this day, defense was kicking our butts. Like, they were just hounding us in. We were trying to get out of the red zone. And here it is, 3rd and 1. And my head coach, he taps me on the side of the leg and he says, Bryant, get him up. Right. And so I knew what that meant. I knew, as a team captain, as a leader of this team, I need you to pick up the offense. I need you to get these guys together, and I need you guys to start practicing better. Right. So in my head, I'm like, I got to do this. This is it. Right. And I remember telling my friends that night before, like, guys, we got to stay healthy. Guys, we got to work hard. We got to finish strong. We get the play is a run play. It's 3rd and 1. All I need is 1 yard to get the first down to win that part of the practice, right? So the quarterback hikes the ball. I take a jab step across. I grab the ball. And as I make my reads on the line begins to crash down, which bounces me out to the outside. The safety fits down. We hit head up. Sounded like 2 Mack trucks running straight into each other at 100-mile-per-hour, right? And so at the line of scrimmage, he's running his feet. I'm running my feet. And the equal forces begin to make us run laterally to the left. And as we're running laterally, in my head, I know that I have to get 1 yard. All I need is 1 yard left. And so my plan in my head was to grab his chest plate, to jab my left foot into the ground, to throw him by, to run forward to get this first down. And as I begin to grab his chest plate and I jab my left leg into the ground, the linebacker ends up jumping over the offensive lineman. He taps my right hip, which twerks my body awkwardly. And as my foot jabs into the turf and the torque of my body from him hitting my hip, my knee snapped. Wow. It sounded like the beginning of a track meet. And all I remember is laying on the ground and I'm screaming and I'm yelling and everyone is just silent. And it was like a panoramic view where I'm coming from my left, rolling over to my right side, and I see the guys just staring at me. No one's making a movement. No one is saying anything. And I'm just yelling and screaming. And I can see it in everyone's eyes. Everyone's just looking like, yo, this is not good. This is bad. And as I roll over to my right side, my eyes land on my running back coach, who just turns his head and walks down the field. And then I end up looking at my head coach, who puts his head down, he blows a whistle, and he tells the guys to move the ball up 10 yards. And everyone stood there. He had to tell them again, move the ball up 10 yards. And it was almost as if people just didn't believe what he was saying. Like, are we really about to continue practice? Like, our team captain, like our main guy is down on the field right now. Mm-hmm. And so it was one of those moments where I'm laying there and I'm thinking to myself, why me? Why me? And I begin to see them move the ball 10 yards down the field. And I begin to see the game and hear the game that I love continue to play and go on without me. And so as I lay and I'm staring at the sky, I'm just asking myself and I'm asking God, why me? I've done nothing wrong. I've given every single thing I've had to this team. I've made sacrifices, right? I've worked hard. Why me? I've respected everyone. I've showed everyone love. What did I do wrong in order to deserve this? Why me? Right. And then I just remember, telling myself in high school, I wanted to achieve these goals and these dreams. And again, that voice that asked me that same question the night before, like, are you ready to accomplish these dreams and these goals? And I said, yeah, piece of cake. That same voice came back and said, remember when you said you wanted to achieve this? Remember when you said you wanted to do that? Remember when you said you wanted to do this? Right. And then and I said, yeah, like, I remember I said all that, but why is this a part of it? How does this connect? How does this make sense? Right. And the thing that I heard was, the bigger the dream, right, the bigger the challenges. And so if you really want to achieve those dreams and those goals, right, there's something for you down the road that you're going to accomplish, but you have to get through here. You have to have this experience in order for you to be prepared to be able to hold the platform that you're going to have in the future. Right. And I didn't understand it, but I accepted it. Right. Because I'm a warrior on the inside. And I knew that I was there for a reason. And even though I couldn't understand and feel it at that moment, I knew that if I continue to keep getting up, to keep pushing and to stay positive, that something good would come out of it. Right. And it definitely was a journey. It definitely was a challenge. But at that moment, I just felt so lost. I just felt, I felt like everything I did, everything I worked so hard for was just, it was in vain, But as I decided to continue to keep pushing, I saw that none of that was true, right? The only thing that was true was that if I keep pushing, I'm going to be successful, as we can see today.
Yeah, man, that story is so powerful, and you tell it with such detail. I mean, that's just incredible that you remember even like where your hips were on that play. I mean, That is just incredible what you can do. And the fact that you can tell it on stage like that is just incredible. And no matter who you are, even if you're not an athlete, right? I don't consider myself an athlete at all. But what I will say is that we've all gone through these kinds of trials and tribulations. You went through it on the football field, but I think
Yep.
people in general, they go through it in their own way. And I think they can connect with that story because when we're going through some trial or tribulation in our life, we all ask ourselves, like, why me? Why is this happening to me? And you don't understand it at the time. At the time, you're like, this is not fair. This shouldn't happen to me. I'm doing all the right things. I'm a good person. Like, this shouldn't be happening. But then it's not until, 7 years later, do you realize why that happened? And it would
Exactly.
be the only way that you would be able to get to the next level, right?
Exactly.
But you don't understand it at the time. And so, what a great story, and anybody can connect with it. So I really, really, really like that story. Now, you also struggled with your mental health, and right now on college campuses, this is something that is significant. I actually read an article a couple of weeks ago that basically said that a third of college students are considering withdrawing from school because of the emotional stress that they're under right now. A third. And obviously a lot of it had to do with the pandemic. You saw students that were just getting crushed because of the
Yeah.
pandemic, not only because of health reasons, but also the isolation that the students were under. So you had suicidal ideation, you've had depression, you've had anxiety. And I think we should also talk about it from a men's perspective, because we're taught from a very early age not to show weakness, not to cry, and all of these other things. So, when you speak to another college student, let's say it's a male student,
Mhm.
do men really mean what they say when they say, well, I'm fine?
That's a great question. And this was something that I spoke on a while back when talking about mental health. And I honestly don't believe it to be true, and as you said, right, as men, we are told that we're not able to cry, we're not able to show emotion, right? That's a sign of weakness. And something that I learned going through my situation, right, like you said, I experienced depression, anxiety. I went from being an elite athlete to someone who depended on his teammates to help him get in the shower, who depended on people to get him food, who I was, in the matter of seconds, I went from being elite to now depending on other people to help me even put on my clothes, right? So having to make that shift and understand where I was at, the depression, the anxiety began to set in because it seemed like once I got into that position, I was no longer valued. It seemed like the team, it seemed like the coaches, right, didn't value me anymore as a player, as a captain, right, as a leader, even though that wasn't the case, but that's what it seemed like. And so all of the feelings, the emotions that I had being in such a high position on the team, one, and then being a college athlete and a male, right, two, I felt like those emotions I couldn't show. I felt like I couldn't talk about it because people were going to view me as weak when everyone sees me as lion-hearted Trey, right? And so in those moments, I remember sitting in the car. I'm sitting in the car, and as I begin to start thinking, like if I wasn't here, would people even care, right? Would people even think twice about Trevon? And I remember sitting in the car at night. It was 11 p.m. at night, and I'm sitting here and I'm talking to myself and I'm crying and I'm just talking about what I'm going through, right? Because I feel like my roommates wouldn't understand. I feel like they're tired of hearing me talk and vent, right? And I just had this quick little thought, this feeling of what if I just drove this car across the street, right? I can't see right or left, but I do see cars zooming by because I have a building on my right, I have trees on my left, and I can't see oncoming. But if I just drove this car across the street with the possibility of getting, hit from the side, would anyone care, right? And I remember holding the steering wheel, my hands are cold and crying. And all of a sudden I get a text from my friend who says, hey, Trey, just wanted to say that, I believe in you, I love you, and I miss you, right? And just that text was something that got me back into the zone to realize like, hey, no, you matter, right? You matter. And this is something that you have to continue to keep pushing through. One thing that I think is I feel like a lot of men have a hard time understanding how to process their emotions and their feelings. And I think this is the reason why the statement of, I'm fine is not true, because what happens is we are taught to suppress them. We're taught to put them on the inside, to brush it off your shoulder and to keep going. Little do you know that those things are emotions, right? It's all energy, right? And the way that I see it is, as they say, energy cannot be created nor destroyed, right? But it can be transferred. And I think what happens is a lot of the emotions that we as men feel that we bottle up on the inside, at some point that energy is going to have to disperse itself. And I believe that energy disperses itself sometimes in ways of negative behaviors that gets us in trouble, right? Outrages, or where it becomes, now you're being abusive verbally, physically, right? Or, bad behaviors as far as getting involved with alcohol or, committing crimes. I believe that those emotions disperse themselves in that form of behavior because we're not taught how to sit down and decipher, what is it that I'm feeling? How does the situation make me feel, when I was called weak, or when I was called small, when I was judged, or my father not being in my life, whatever it is, right? How do we decipher through those things? And so when men say that I'm fine, I don't necessarily think that they're actually fine. I think that they're in a position where they're covering up, right? They're covering up because they feel like they don't have anyone to talk to. They feel like they're not going to be supported because they're supposed to be a provider. They're supposed to be a protector. And it seems like when you're not in a position to be able to do that as a man, right? You get pushed out of the home. You get pushed away from family members. You get pushed away from friends, right? And so I think, my biggest thing as far as what I went through is now when I talk to young men, when I talk to them about the things that they're feeling, that they go through. And I try to help them from a different perspective, look at it of, this is a challenge that you have to bring to surface, right? Because all of us have a story, and your story is what's going to make you who you are. And so it's tough, man.
It is. I mean, I saw a video not too long ago, and they were asking, young men, who do you talk to when you go through a tough time? And everybody, like all the way down the line, I'm talking like 40, 50 young men basically said nobody. Like, we just suck it up. Like that. I mean, that's just the truth. There's nobody for them to talk to.
No one.
Just go down the line. And they're like, everybody's going to be like, nope, 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 nope. And, so I think, what we can do, a little trick is when somebody says that back to us and says we're fine, what we can say is we can say, you know what, today I'm feeling like a 6.5 out of a 10 because I didn't get a lot of sleep last night. I was up late last night thinking about the deal that I didn't get yesterday. And I was really depressed. And so today I'm like a 6.5 out of 10. But I'm feeling like today is going to be a little bit of a better day. And then look to the person that just said you're fine and said, okay, well, now what about you? So you're kind of mirroring this behavior, and you're hoping that they're going to come back to you and then give you a number back and explain why they're at that number, right? So I think there's a little trick that we can use in order to get to what is the real truth here. And maybe by mirroring that behavior and kind of setting the tone of what you're expecting when you say, how are you doing? Then I think they're going to come back to you with the real answer. So I don't know. So maybe that's a little bit of the trick that you and I and everybody else can do.
Exactly. And another thing too, is that, I think a lot of times too, when it comes to the emotional part of it as well, is that what men and women have to understand is that, a lot of times they say, oh, this doesn't make you a man if you cry, right? And what I want the college students listening to this to understand is, crying, that's a natural emotion. Right? It's natural, right? That's what our bodies do, in response. But what matters, what makes you a man, what makes you a woman, what makes you who you are, right? Is no matter what it is that you're dealing with, you go through, what makes you who you are is how do you respond to your situation? So I don't care if you're crying and you're snotting out the nose. What I care about is while you're crying and snot coming out of your nose, are you still taking steps forward, right, to better yourself? Or are you sitting down in the corner saying, woe is me, right? Curled up in a corner crying, not doing anything about your situation, right? So I think it's how do you respond? What are you doing in order to move through? You can let that natural emotion go as long as possible, right? But as long as you're moving forward, as long as you're taking steps forward to better your situation, you're finding help, that's what matters the most.
So this is what you did in order to better yourself. You basically came up with a better mindset, and you came up with this quote, which was, I embrace me, and that's why I'm free. So what does that mean to you?
Yeah. So I embrace me. That's why I'm free. I felt like through the situation, right, as I was depressed and anxiety and, had to sit out a whole year of football, there was a lot of insecurities that I developed as far as who I was as a person, right? As far as the outbreaks that I had of emotions of crying in front of people and, just breaking down and talking back to coaches. And, I was never that person. I was never this guy. I was so defeated. And I developed a lot of insecurities around that. But one thing that I had to realize as I reflect on my life was in order for me to better myself, I have to create a healthier mindset. In order to create a healthier mindset, there are some things about me that I haven't accepted yet that I need to accept in order for me to move forward in life. And so that's how I came up with my quote of I embrace me and that's why I'm free. When I say I embrace me, I embrace every single thing about me, right? Like I embrace the fact that I'm only 5'7" and 180. I embrace the fact that I grew up in a single parent home and my father wasn't necessarily there at the time that I needed him, right? I embrace the fact that my injury happened and my dreams of going pro was, totally wiped away. I embrace the fact that my beard won't grow and connect in the middle, right? I embrace every single thing about me. I embrace the fact that I'm a sensitive guy. I embrace every single thing about me, which allows me to be free because you can't come to me and ruin my peace and try to tell me, oh, you only grew up in a single parent home, like you're never ever going to be a great dad because you didn't have it. You can't break me with that because that's something that I've already accepted about myself. And I see it as a strength and I use it as a strength because now I'm able to talk to other young men and women who grew up in single parent home, and I can talk to them from a perspective that they will understand and that will impact them, right? And so every single thing that's happened to me in my life, I accept every single part of it because it makes me who I am, and that's why I'm able to move freely, to move confidently, right? And to be vulnerable in spaces that people wouldn't dare. And so that's what makes me powerful. That's what makes me free. That's what makes me able to move and to do and accomplish the things that I want to because I've embraced every single thing about me.
Wow, that's beautiful. And you believe that words that you speak are value. So how do the affirmations that you use every single day, how does that help you?
It helps out a lot, and I think a lot of things you have to just repeat over and over. And like I say, words are value. And so when you look at yourself in the mirror in the morning and you tell yourself, I'm great, I'm worthy, I'm smart, I'm capable of being loved, and I have the capability of loving others, right? When you say those positive things to yourself every single day, you begin to start believing it, right? You begin to start believing it. And when I have this example of a word bank, right? Or, words are value. So if you're talking to yourself and you're talking down on yourself and you're saying, I can't do this, I can't do that, right? Those you're deducting points from yourself, right? Every single time you do that, you say, I can't do it. You just deducted 5,000 points from your word bank, right? From your value bank. You have to continue to keep speaking value in your life into yourself in order for you to begin to start believing those words. And so that's why to me it becomes very important because those things I had to continue to keep saying, right? Because I had to separate myself from allowing myself to adopt the negative thoughts of others and letting it become my thoughts, right? I wanted my thoughts to be my thoughts, my feelings to be my feelings, and not the thoughts and feelings of others who try to, put ill words on me to then allow me to believe that. So I have to speak those positive things myself. And so it definitely is something that has worked for me and something that I do every single day.
Mhm. You've done a good job explaining your mind health and where you are able to get that strength from. But you also believe in making healthier choices in terms of the foods that you eat, in terms of your daily activity. The college students who are listening right now, I'm just telling you straight up, they are absolutely exhausted. And it would be much easier and much faster for them to go and hit up some fast food restaurant because
Yeah.
that fits into their busy schedule. So, how can college students find the time to cook healthy foods at home and get into daily exercise?
Yep. And so I like how you say, how can they find the time? I like to say that there's no really finding time, right? The time is there, but it's what are your priorities, right? What do you value? What's most important to you? Right. And so everyone is given the same amount of time a day, right? But it depends on how do you break it up? Do you sit down and schedule yourself out, right? So I get up every morning, 5:30 a.m. I go to the gym, I get a good hour in, I come back, shower, eat, go right into work. I get off work, I start my personal motivational speaking work. And so it's how important is it to you to create this healthier lifestyle? Because again, outside of food, every single thing that we consume, whether it's your friends, right? How do the conversations you have, right? Who are you watching on social media? What are you watching on TV, right? The things that you consume in all aspects all plays a part of creating that healthy mindset, of creating that healthy lifestyle. So you have to become more conscious and more aware of what it is that you're consistently consuming, right? And that is where you have to begin to start making your plan of breaking down of, I'm going to fit this in here because I want it that bad, right? You have to want it bad. And then the thing is, right, like you said, they can go and get fast food, right? Because it's convenient, right? Convenient. Nobody wants to be inconvenient, right? Nobody wants to have to do something that's going to be a hassle. But anything that comes good, anything that's good, or anything that allows you to live that comfortable life that we all say we want to live. I want to live in this mansion. I want this car. I want this and that. The things that you have to do in order to acquire those things are going to be inconvenience. They're going to be things that's going to cause you to have to put extra time in. They're going to be things that you're not going to be prepared for. It's going to come up that you're going to have to learn on the fly. It's going to be an inconvenience in order for you to achieve that lifestyle that you want to live. So if you're willing to do it now to create the structure and the plan, it's going to work out for you in the end.
Man, I love that. You were talking about social media, and I saw you got a ton of followers there on TikTok, on Instagram. What do you think the impact is of social media on today's college students in terms of their opinions of their popularity, in terms of even their own self-image?
Right. Yeah. And so it can have some negatives and some positives. And I think that the influence of it is sometimes it creates this false sense of identity. Social media tends to show only the good parts of people, right? It only shows the good things. And I talk to my young guys a lot about, wanting to have a better looking body, or to grow muscle, or to, be as successful and as popular as they see as guys on social media, and to allow them to understand that, you're at a different stage in your life. And you have to understand that these people that are on social media, right, even though, yes, they may be successful, they're only showing you the good things that happen in their life, right? They're not showing you, one, the hard work that it took to get there, or two, they're not showing you the amount of stress and the depression and the nights of not being able to get sleep, right, because of the lifestyle that they live, right? And so I think it has that negative impact sometimes, where it creates that false sense of identity, to where people start to think that they have to be this way, or they begin to start putting more value into the likes, into the comments, right? How many likes did I get on this video? How many comments did I get, right? They put more value into that, which then, them not understanding the algorithms of how social media works. And maybe people just haven't seen your video because the algorithm is not pushing it out. And because you only got 25 likes, you feel less about yourself, right? And so it has that in that way. And then it has its positive outcomes, to where, you have some positive, some good content out there, right? That may motivate you to do things that you didn't think about doing, right? Or you may have some people who just hit home for you with their videos or pictures or whatever it is. And so I think social media has a huge influence on our teens, on our college students, because it makes them feel like they have to be at a certain place in a certain position. And everyone needs to understand that their time frame is different, right? Like if the number 10 is the goal, right? My lifestyle may be where my life is, 8+2, to where everything happened for me so quick in the end, or in the beginning, right? All the cylinders are clicking, everything's going well. And then later on in my life, it slows down, right? To whereas your life might be the 2+8, where everything is slow in the beginning. You're not getting deals. You're not getting the job offers. You're not, everything is slow. But if you continue to push through and understand that your time frame is different, but we're all going to reach that goal of success, it's going to pop on, right? Then that 8 is going to come for you. Everything's going to start to flow, right? And so we just have to understand that we're on different time frames, and my success and your success is going to come, but when it's meant to come for each one of us.
Yeah, just for the record, I'm the 2+8. Like I had a real slow start out of the gate, and that's okay. That's okay,
Right.
because then there was wild success later. So it's just everybody at their own speed. It's okay. It's no matter
Yep.
where you're at, it's okay. The other thing that's really cool about you is you're the residential hall director at the University of New Hampshire now. So I'm just curious. I mean, what do you enjoy about that position the most?
Man, it's awesome. So I got my master's degree in adolescent development, where I talked a lot about emerging adults, and talked about the adolescent stage and just the development of humans, in general. And so the thing that I love about this job and this position is, I live in the building, right? So I live in the building with my students, with my residents, and I'm able to really be hands-on with their development academically and personally, right? So I have a lot of students who will come into my office and they'll sit down and they'll start talking about academics, their challenges, their success, right? And I'm able to get them and link them up with other resources here on campus that can also help further their success in their academics. But then also on the personal lifestyle and the life side, right? They come in and talk to me about their personal issues, right? Whether it's family or whether it's, I'm having issues with this friend. How do I deal about that? What's your perspective on this? Or maybe it's a relationship, right? And so I'm able to use the things that I've learned through my degree and through my experience, right, of being a college athlete, being a motivational speaker, right? I'm able to put all of that practice into helping my students develop, and to also just hear them talk about situations and things that I've been through and being able to support them through that, right? So there's some days where they come in and they leave crying, and there's some days where they come in crying and they leave happy, and so it's just awesome to be a part of that development and to see these students go through these tough situations and to be that support, to be that system, to be able to help them, get through, and to come back and say, Trey, like I made it through. I didn't think I was going to make it, but I did it. This is awesome. This is great. I enjoy it, and so it's just being a part of that development has been such a blessing. And, I couldn't ask for a better experience than this.
Well, thank goodness for people like you. I'm telling you, I mean, you and the other administrators on campus, you guys are doing God's work, and you're not getting paid enough. I'll say it. You're not getting paid enough. So I just want to say that I appreciate the work that you do and the other administrators that take their job seriously. And sometimes you're a coach, sometimes you're a therapist. Sometimes, right. I mean, it's other duties as assigned, right? As a residence hall director. Yeah. I mean, you just do a little bit of everything, and it takes a special person to do that. So I just want to tell you that I appreciate the work that you do at the University of New Hampshire. The students there are grateful for what you do day in and day out. So thank you so much. Now, one last thing is we do really love good food here at the Fraternity Foodie Podcast, and I do get up to the University of New Hampshire quite often. And so I'm wondering, what's your favorite restaurant near campus?
My favorite restaurant near campus is Texas Roadhouse. Oh my goodness. Texas Roadhouse is the place to be for me. The bread, the butter, the way oh my goodness. I can talk about Texas Roadhouse every day, but that is my go-to spot. Never get tired of it. That's it for me.
Yeah, it's delicious. Just don't count your calories when you're in there, because that bread and butter and all that. I mean, come on now. You know it's not good, right?
Yeah.
It does taste delicious. I agree with you there. There's no question about it. All right. So if all the students who are listening now, I'm sure they love you just as much as I do. If they want to bring you in to speak on their college campus, to come and work with their college students, where can they go to connect with you?
Yes, totally. So you can email me, right, at trevon.bryant@unh.edu. And then for, since social media is so big and that's what we do, obviously Instagram at Talking with Trey. You can DM me on Instagram at Talking with Trey, right? Just as long as you, state who you are and the purpose of you reaching out, we can definitely make it happen. But yes, definitely my email, trevon.bryant@unh.edu, and also through the DMs on Instagram at Talking with Trey.
Love it. So check him out on Instagram, Talking with Trey. It's Trevon Bryant. So it's TREVON.BRYANT@UNH.edu. Trey, you are just a force, man. I absolutely love everything that you do. And so I am so happy that we had a chance to sit down and talk a little bit more so I can get to know you a little bit better. And just keep doing what you're doing, man. You are a special guy, and I know I'm going to be seeing you on stages all across the country. So I'm proud of you.
That's the plan. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And to our listeners, if you like this talk with Trey, please like it. Please share it with other college students on campus. And we hope to see you on another episode of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.